Hello and welcome to my kitchen in Ireland, and welcome to a short discussion, I hope, about Walt Whitman. Yeah, this is a photograph, and welcome to anyone who's watching this on replay. I imagine there might even be more people who are going to watch it on replay than will be here live. And Claire Waddington in Paris. Terribly welcome, Claire, really welcome. I hope you and your very young son Leo are getting on really well. I hope you are. And Spillone, my friend from Milan, welcome, welcome. And I do hope, Catania, that's Spillone, that you'll come to Cork for some jazz. I really do. Maybe not this year, I don't know, whenever. Anyway, Swag, hello and welcome. Welcome. He's feeding while sleeping. Oh, right. Hi, Paul says 70 shortcake, 70. Hello. Oh, hello. Oh, we have a great Skalski here. Oh, Tajikistan, I think. Lauren is here as well. Sarah, oh, thank you. That's terrible of me, really, but I'm like that. I have a lousy memory, really. So I just wanted to have a little chat about the Walt. I don't have a plan to read Walt Whitman. Oh, Sarah, I will. Anyway, I'm strive, Next year, right? Okay, next year is fine. I might get to see you in Italy before next year. You never know. You just never know. I've got something telling me my battery is insufficiently charged, but never mind. Yeah, I just wanted to have a little chat about Walt Whitman, because I think that there are some people who know about Walt Whitman, but there are a lot of people who don't know about Walt Whitman. Have I had a haircut? Yes, I have. Yeah, I've had a haircut. Yeah, but also I've washed it today. I washed and conditioned my hair this morning. And I don't know about how your hair goes, but mine shrinks when I wash and condition it. So just for those of you who would be here and wouldn't know anything much about what this Walt Whitman thing is about, Sarah, right? Wow, that's very short hair, Sarah. That's really short. And if I remember rightly, that's a lot of hair you've taken off. That's definitely a lot. Walt Whitman is an American poet. I'm just going to say this for some people who might not know much about Walt Whitman. He was born in New York City in 1819. And he didn't start really writing poetry. Well, he published his first self-published book of poetry in 1855. Before that, he was a journalist and an editor and who wrote all sorts of things. But it was really in 1855 that his history or his life as a poet really began. His first book was, nobody bought it, really. His work only became, and it became terribly famous in his own lifetime. And there was all sorts of people who said he was dreadful as a poet, and they called him awful things. But by the time he died, for example, Oscar Wilde had gone to visit him. He was visited by lots of people. Unfortunately, you understand me a little bit. Right. Well, look, a little bit is better than no bit. So I hope that you can maybe play it back and see what happens. But so this is a poet who's came by the time he died at the end of the 19th century, 1892. He had really come to be enormously respected, not just in the United States, but also in the UK, very big in the English-speaking world. This is this is like the last edition of his poetry that's published. And what I really wanted to say was that from a long time ago, I've been doing a thing called the Walt Whitman Show, which involves reading poems by Walt Whitman in chronological order, maybe usually one, and sometimes two poets at a time, and two poems at a time, and reading them twice, if at all possible. And a lot of wonderful people have come on the Periscope who have been very interested in Walt Whitman, some of whom have known a lot about Walt Whitman. And it's not an academic program. It's not an academic experience at all. There is no correct answer to what is the meaning of this poem. People are able to say what they feel, what they think, what sense they make of it. And it's a life's love of mine to do this. And it's kind of like every day I discovered that there are more and more people who have never heard of Walt Whitman. And somebody on an audio app, hello, Susan Brown, hello. Somebody today on an audio app called Anchor, an American woman, said to me she knew hardly anything at all about Walt Whitman, and she was going to go home and look him up, read about him. Completely out of the blue. Because we were having a conversation about something. Oh, I know. The question was, who would you like to bring back to life? If you could bring somebody back to life from the past, bring them back, who would that person be? Any of you got a favorite person that you would bring back to life from a previous age that you'd like to let us know? Who would you bring back to life? Somebody who is dead? Anyone at all? And just be right. So Susan Brown says it's a difficult choice, right? You have a lot of people to choose from, and you'd like Janet Morgan would like to bring back, Janet Morahan like to bring back your mother. Right, lovely. And you would like Shortcake, would like to bring your granny and your aunt, right? I'm not really clear in my own mind how long they would stay alive. The way I interpreted the question is that they wouldn't stay alive, they wouldn't come back forever. Oh, right, any of the women involved in the suffragette movement. Wow. This is a very interesting question, isn't it? It's a bit like the kind of question you get asked, who would you like to come to dinner? Who would be your favourite dinner party guests, but who would you like to have come back to life from the past? Well, the good thing about it is that you won't be held to your answers it's only who you would say today on this scope. Right, your mother had Alzheimer's. My mother has a dreadful, and I'm not dead yet. My mother's unable to remember anything at all. Thank you very much. I'd love to have dinner with you, Lauren. I would love to have dinner with you. I know. I got the wrong end of the stick when I saw my own name come up, and I thought, wow, But it's anyway. This woman was American. She'd been through the American educational system. And, I'm saying to myself, right, got you. I'm saying to myself, well, this is what I said originally, that all the people in America who've been through high school will have, a solid introductory knowledge of Walt Whitman. To the extent that they know anything about poetry, I kind of thought, well, of all the poets, Walt Whitman must be one of the best known. It's a bit like if you go through Irish school, you're bound to hear of Yeats. W.B. Yeats would be, people would have at least read one of his poems or more. Very few Irish people would say they never heard of Yeats. But I just, And slowly I've realized that that isn't really the case. No offense to the US education system, but they barely teach US history. Are you serious? Depends on where they went to school and how old they were as well. Literature's even worse. Oh my goodness. How? Okay, this unfortunately can't be a very long scope. I mean, they mightn't teach history well, but surely, well, I mean, Walt Whitman, the history of American poetry. You couldn't really easily read all that much of Walt Whitman without knowing that America had a civil war. You know, you could, I suppose, but so much of his work was influenced by the American Civil War. Interesting. Well, look, I guess all I think is quite interesting is, for example, President Obama in a speech, and I'm not sure how long ago it was, I don't think it was all that long ago, made reference to Walt Whitman and sort of said something which I'll paraphrase, and I may have got a bit of it wrong. If you want to know about American democracy, read Walt Whitman. Or he may have said, if you want to know about America, read Walt Whitman and a second poet. And I can't honestly tell you who the second poet was because I've never read anything by the second poet. Does anyone remember that speech by Obama? You can Google it. Yeah, it's not very long. If you have Lauren, if you can Google it, you know, in the next few minutes, that'd be lovely to know. What do I have? I actually have another, I suppose I have another 15 minutes here. I'm going to make myself another cup of tea. I thought about doing a Walt Whitman show, you know, reading Walt Whitman's poetry. But then I thought, hang on a minute, that I might have to cut it short, and I didn't really want to cut it short. So there we are. So tell me, Sarah, you're here, and I know that you write poetry, but does any other people here? Well, in fact, any of you who write poetry, would you just put up a few emojis there, just for... Actually, if you either write it or read it, let's not just say, because writers need readers, but if you read or write poetry, will you just put up a few emojis there? Right, so Lauren, wow, 5 red hearts. That would indicate that you love it, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think so. And I'd just be very interested. I suppose that everybody here is interested in poetry, because otherwise when you saw the title of the scope, you wouldn't have clicked on it, I guess. But anyway, there we are. I'm just... You're Googling it now. You know nothing about poetry. Well, you know what? In one level, I would say there's nothing to know. You don't need to know anything. I mean, you obviously do need to be able to read the language. But knowledge, I think it's much overrated, knowledge. When it comes to poetry, knowledge is way overrated. Probably because it's much easier to... It's how you feel when you hear it. Absolutely. That's the opinion I have. That's my perspective. It's what you... Right. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Oh, did he? He didn't mention Emerson, did he? I mean, I know who